Hello, my name is Sig Bohr. I'm the Chief Innovation and Product Officer for nestCARE, and this is our video that we hope will get us invited to participate in the TedX event here in Colorado Springs in November. We've thought about how to essentially tell this story about what we've come up with, and we've kind of broken it down into three major areas. One is to talk a little bit about how we were inspired to come up with the solution. We're going to take a little bit of time and also talk about what is the fundamental challenge or the problem that we believe needs to be addressed, and then finally leave a little bit, not too detailed overview of what we think is a pretty terrific, innovative solution that addresses that problem. So, with that, to set the context of what inspired us to do this, it's really best described essentially using a little bit of imagination. So, picture roughly 60 plus million people, and this group. They're defined as essentially being our providers, our protectors, our nurturers, our role models. They, as a group, they tend to be on the proud side, but with good reason, and it's well deserved. And then at the same time, they are also willing to sacrifice on our behalf without hesitation. So hopefully you have an idea of that 60 plus million group of people. The next part of this is now imagine the another group of 60 million people, but instead think of this group as someone who now has a need. They need our care, they need our assistance, they need our attention, they need our support. But like the first group of folks, they're also proud and with good reason, and yet they still, despite all of those needs that I mentioned a little while ago, they're also willing to sacrifice without hesitation. The interesting part, though, is ask the question: how do you feel about those two groups of people once you realize that they are the same? It's the same group of people. It's just that the second group is one whose circumstances have changed, whether that be because they've gotten older, or whether it be because they've come out of active service, active duty. Now you're getting at who the target people that we really want to help are, and it is the elderly and veterans. So what is the fundamental problem when you think about those two groups of people that we're trying to address? It's really about improving their overall health and wellness, and because of that, in turn, improving their overall independence and of course quality of life. And so that really was our mission, and it started at a very, very personal level, because both my co-founder and I, we now, as we're getting into our, I guess, midway professional career point, the folks that we care about had gotten up in age, and they have bigger and more difficult challenges, and at the same time, because we're all so busy with work, flying from city to city, consulting to companies all over the country, and in fact in other countries as well, it dawned on us, there's got to be a way that we can do more in light of all the things that are happening today, technology having evolved, and even some adoption in those same segments. There's definitely a desperate need for us to do more. So a little bit of additional context that hopefully sets the stage for trying to find a solution on how to improve the overall health and wellness of those two extremely important groups of people, it's important to acknowledge that right now you'd have to basically live in a bubble to not know that there is widespread healthcare innovation going on. Whether you're talking about health insurance companies, hospitals through provider networks and clinics and etc. In the fields of medicine, specific treatments, but even extending to professional home care, government, various affiliate groups like the ADA and the AMA and a bunch of other acronyms. But there is absolutely widespread healthcare innovation. So the timing of this is good. But one of the things that we realized is, this probably came to be because we have been so involved in helping a lot of companies in this space from a consulting standpoint, we realized if you zoom out a little bit and then you map all of that existing innovation that's happening right now in the context of the typical year, whether you're talking about a veteran or elderly, the vast majority of all that innovation actually manifests itself to elderly and veterans at the time that they have some interaction with a professional healthcare facility. But what's really staggering about that is that if you take on average somewhere between 4 and 6 professional healthcare visits in a given year for these individuals, there's more than 5,000 waking hours in a given year where the elderly and veteran spend away from those professional facilities. And so it begs the question, all that great innovation, which we wholeheartedly support, are we kind of overlooking or missing an opportunity here to address the reality that's going on relative to elderly and veterans in their overall health and wellness? And it further begs the question, where is health and wellness actually managed and realized for those individuals? It's not while they're at the doctor or at the clinic. It actually happens away. And so with all of that in mind, we started asking some questions because at the time, at least, it wasn't because we were thinking there might be a business here or something we could do on a grand scale, but we just asked the question, what can individuals do while away from professional healthcare facilities? And we came up with an answer that basically said there's 3 sweeping buckets of things that just about anybody can do to hopefully better manage and oversee their health and wellness. And it includes monitoring vitals, taking medication, and then also managing their general wellness. Now, that sounds painfully simple, but if you believe, and we certainly do, all the coverage that's happening in the healthcare space, the challenges, the rising costs, and all of these other things, it begs the question, well, why isn't it working then, if it's just a matter of pulling those 3 triggers, so to speak? And there are many reasons, but there are some that truly stand out when it comes to each of the 3 areas. So on the monitoring of vitals, one of the key gaps is that you need devices. You need the actual vitals devices to take readings. Never mind tracking them, recording them, writing them down, and then looking at them over time. One of the biggest obstacles on taking medication is, and think about our segments here with the elderly and veterans in mind, and I guess it's true for beyond those segments as well, but you have to remember. And as most of us know, the older you get, and the more distracted you become, the more difficult it actually is to simply remember what medication are you supposed to take, in what dosage, and when. And then finally, when it comes to managing general wellness, and this is true for the entire population, not just elderly and veterans, it's the fundamental truth is that you have to actually develop those habits. Most people don't just have those ingrained in their day-to-day. And then the last thing, and I think this was one of the most revealing and inspirational things for us, was that if you ask the question, what can an individual do while away from the professional care facilities, but ask it slightly differently, and it actually will reveal one of the biggest problems, especially when it comes to veterans and elderly, and ask the question, what can individuals do on their own away from professional healthcare facilities? It actually highlights one of the biggest challenges out there, and that is this notion of truly you're on your own when it comes to managing your health and welfare. And as with just about anything in life, it's much, much tougher to do on your own than it is if you have some people in your court helping you out every step along the way. So that hopefully explains a little bit about our motivation, a little bit about the challenge, and it's a big one. I'll quickly jump into why I think we're doing something that absolutely has the opportunity to make a huge difference in not only our community, but in every community. So now imagine that same group of 60 million elderly and veterans who have sacrificed so much for us. And now further imagine that their entire health history is in one place, that they fully control, and that they can share with anybody they so choose. Further imagine in that same place that it also has all of their vitals data constantly updated with minimal effort. It doesn't take much. You don't have to adjust your day-to-day very, very much, if any at all. Furthermore, imagine that it also has, that same place also has all their current data on medication, consumption, and adherence reminders for both what's happening now and going into the future. Imagine also that all of those general wellness habits from pain, mood, sleep, hydration, eating, can also be managed and reviewed from that same place. And all those three sweeping areas of things that have a huge impact on health and wellness, when you think about all of that time away from the clinic or the doctor's office, imagine further that there is a correlated system of alerts when things are either trending in the right or the wrong direction, or if habits starts slipping or forgetting, and etc., that there's a series of alerts that are tied to all of it, that are well thought through and developed with the help of medical professionals, and that those alerts actually are automatically sent out to all of the cared for, whether it be the elderly or veteran, all of their advocates that are trusted, that are probably performing that role today, but in a very limited way. Like most of us, it's either via the phone, or you send an email, or share a post on Facebook. But instead, now they're actually getting alerted when something warrants extra attention on the given elderly or the given veteran. And even extending that to potentially, if the cared for so chooses, an alert can also go to their primary care physician. So now imagine, and you get a taste of it, now imagine this healthcare and wellness management place, we call it a program, has extremely strong engagement, and in fact was designed from the ground up to include it from their trusted advocates, their most trusted advocates, friends, families, professional caregivers, doctors, and etc. And why is that important if it happens in a place rather than during a phone call? Most of the elderly and veterans consider the time that they get to actually spend interacting with their loved ones, their advocates, the people that they trust, they consider it incredibly precious, and would rather not spend a lot of that precious time getting their advocates up to speed on every nuance of their health and wellness. It's not that they're averse to talking about it, but they sure would prefer to spend most of that hour or most of that 10 minutes or whatever it is talking about kids, grandkids, other cool things that are happening in their lives. But instead now, this place actually provides an opportunity for all the advocates to stay completely informed and fully engaged seamlessly and behind the scenes. A few other quick benefits, for each and every cared for, elderly and veteran, now they will have 100% portability of all of their health profile. They can take it to any doctor, to anybody they trust if they want to have a conversation. There's no need to actually go to a doctor's office, get some of your records from there, go to a different clinic, get more of your records there, go to your eye specialist, go to whoever, and get your records and try to bring it all together. Everything exists in one place and it's 100% portable. And then finally, on a grander scale, over time, as this builds out, imagine the possibility of true population health management and learning. What does that mean? That sounds like lingo, but it's where you can basically take a holistic view of a group of individuals' health and wellness correlated to medications, vitals readings, wellness activities. You start seeing patterns emerge. You see patterns that work and things that typically don't work. Now that's great, but where it becomes exponentially more powerful then is you can actually take some of those learnings and the patterns that deliver real outcomes, positive outcomes, and begin to share that across the community at large so that everybody benefits. And this is all done without compromising anybody's own individual data or confidentiality. It's just the notion of, by working together and having one place and we're looking at all the same factors and dimensions, there's not a real opportunity to actually have a substantial impact on overall population health. And so with that, and I respectful of the 18 minutes, just want to leave you with one last thing to imagine. Imagine nestCARE. That's what we are. It's a solution we've come up with that has vitals monitoring, medication adherence support, wellness management, for targeted towards these two key segments for now, the elderly and veterans. Right from the get-go, there's full support network inclusion. It has an app. It's got devices that allow them to take vitals measurement. And all behind the scenes, there's an incredibly powerful and sophisticated platform and analytics. And so that's our pitch. The last thing I will say, though, to hook into the theme of this TedX, it's about making a difference in the community. Take a look at Colorado Springs and what we have here. We have, within spitting distance, we have 5+ military bases. We have an incredibly diverse community. And ask the simple question: do you think something like this, that has the opportunity to move and make a meaningful difference in the health and wellness of our elderly and of our veterans, do you think it has the opportunity to make a huge impact here in Colorado Springs and just about everywhere else? But I think there's a very strong coupling. Thank you, and we hope you find it interesting.